In the operations of war, where there are in the field 1,000 swift chariots, as many heavy chariots, and 100,000 mail-clad soldiers, with provisions enough to carry them 1,000 li. The expenditure at home and at the front, including entertainment of guests, small items such as glue and paint, and sums spent on chariots and armor, will reach the total of 1,000 ounces of silver per day. Such is the cost of raising an army of 100,000 men.
Sun Tzu calculates the massive daily expense of maintaining a large army. 1,000 swift chariots, 1,000 heavy chariots, equals cavalry and heavy transport units, representing the military's mobility and strength. 100,000 mail-clad soldiers equals a full-scale professional army. Provisions enough to carry them 1,000 li equals supply chains capable of sustaining long-distance campaigns. A li approximately equals 400 meters, so about 400 kilometers. And 1,000 ounces of silver per day equals a symbolic estimate of the immense economic drain. Message: war consumes not just soldiers, but the wealth of the state and the labor of its people.
When you engage in actual fighting, if victory is long in coming, then men's weapons will grow dull and their ardor will be damped. If you lay siege to a town, you will exhaust your strength.
Sun Tzu observes the inevitable deterioration that occurs when battles drag on too long. Men's weapons will grow dull. Physically, weapons lose their edge through repeated use. Metaphorically, soldiers lose their effectiveness and readiness. Their ardor will be damped. Morale declines as fatigue, boredom, and fear accumulate. If you lay siege to a town, you will exhaust your strength. Sieges were the most grueling form of warfare in ancient China, consuming vast supplies, time, and manpower. In short, prolonged conflict erodes both the material and spiritual strength of an army.
Again, if the campaign is protracted, the resources of the state will not be equal to the strain.
Sun Tzu is stating a simple but profound truth. When war drags on, a nation's resources, money, food, manpower, and morale, are gradually consumed beyond replenishment.
Now, when your weapons are dulled, your ardor damped, your strength exhausted, and your treasure spent, other chieftains will spring up to take advantage of your extremity. Then, no man, however wise, will be able to avert the consequences that must ensue.
This verse also carries a political warning to rulers, implies that even a wise and virtuous ruler cannot save a nation whose strength has been squandered. Wisdom and strategy are useless without resources, a lesson that transcends time. Leadership requires foresight, knowing not only how to win battles, but when to preserve strength for future crises. And in essence, prudence is the highest form of wisdom.
Thus, though we have heard of stupid haste in war, cleverness has never been seen associated with long delays.
At a deeper level, this verse reflects the Taoist worldview that underpins Sun Tzu's thinking. And in Taoism, balance and timing are paramount. The way favors those who act in harmony with the natural flow of events, not against it. Stupid haste is unnatural. It forces outcomes before their time. Long delays are equally unnatural. They resist the moment when action is ripe. Wisdom lies in attunement to timing, the intuitive understanding of when to strike and when to wait.
There is no instance of a country having benefited from prolonged warfare.
Sun Tzu's line is not just military advice. It's a political warning to rulers. A state at perpetual war becomes hollow from within, and taxation rises, draining the people. Commerce declines, stifling prosperity. Public faith erodes, leading to unrest. Rivals strengthen, exploiting the nation's exhaustion. In short, prolonged warfare transforms a strong country into a fragile one, a candle burning at both ends. Sun Tzu implies that the wise ruler values peace and restoration as much as victory, fights only when necessity and opportunity align, and always with an eye toward swift conclusion.
The skillful soldier does not raise a second levy, neither are his supply wagons loaded more than twice.
Sun Tzu is describing the hallmark of a competent commander, one who plans his campaign so efficiently that he does not need to raise a second levy, meaning he does not have to recall more men into service because the first army was wasted, scattered, or inadequately prepared. Load supply wagons more than twice, meaning his logistics are so well calculated that the army's provisions suffice without repeated resupply. In simple terms, capable general completes the war with one army and one supply line, wins with what he has prepared, swiftly, decisively, and economically.
Poverty of the state exchequer causes an army to be maintained by contributions from a distance. Contributing to maintain an army at a distance causes the people to be impoverished.
This verse reveals Sun Tzu's understanding of what we might now call the war economy, the way conflict reshapes production, taxation, and social stability. Recognizes that when a state must continually fund distant operations, it disrupts domestic prosperity. Farmers are overtaxed or conscripted, and trade slows as labor and materials are redirected to the war effort, and inflation rises as demand for goods outstrips supply. Corruption spreads as resources are mismanaged. Ultimately, the burden of war falls not on the battlefield, but on the common people. Sun Tzu implies that true strategic wisdom includes compassion. A general or ruler must weigh the human and economic cost before committing to any prolonged campaign.
On the other hand, the proximity of an army causes prices to go up, and high prices cause the people's substance to be drained away.
Sun Tzu's warning has a moral undertone. Even a victorious army can ruin its homeland if it becomes a burden to the people. The danger is subtle. The people may outwardly support the war, but inwardly suffer and grow resentful. Their patience erodes, their trust weakens, and their productivity declines. NTHUs, the true strength of a state lies not in the number of soldiers it fields, but in the contentment and stability of its people. And a wise ruler, therefore, must balance military ambition with civic well-being.
When their substance is drained away, the peasantry will be afflicted by heavy exactions.
This verse illustrates the trickle-down effect of wartime spending, a concept that echoes through all history, and inflation first affects merchants and markets. Then the burden passes to farmers and laborers, who must pay more for goods and face higher taxes. NTHE state, desperate to fund the army, squeezes them even harder. In the end, the poorest suffer most, while the war consumes the wealth of the nation. And Sun Tzu's observation anticipates a principle later seen in modern economics. War is the health of the state only in appearance. In truth, it drains the lifeblood of society.
With this loss of substance and exhaustion of strength, the homes of the people will be stripped bare, and 3/10 of their income will be dissipated. While government expenses for broken chariots, worn-out horses, breastplates and helmets, bows and arrows, spears and shields, protective mantlets, draft oxen, and heavy wagons will amount to 4/10 of its total revenue.
Sun Tzu's message to rulers is clear. When war consumes the wealth of both the people and the state, the foundations of power crumble. NTHE ruler may still command armies, but he no longer commands prosperity or loyalty. NTHE people grow resentful and desperate. The treasury grows empty, and even victory cannot restore what was lost. Hence, the truly skillful ruler must weigh every campaign not only in terms of victory, but in terms of its cost to the realm.
Hence, a wise general makes a point of foraging on the enemy. One cartload of the enemy's provisions is equivalent to 20 of one's own. And likewise, a single pickle of his provender is equivalent to 20 from one's own store.
Sun Tzu's teaching also carries political wisdom. A ruler who depends entirely on taxing his people to sustain distant wars invites rebellion. A ruler whose general sustains the army through captured resources preserves the prosperity of his realm. Thus, foraging on the enemy is not merely a tactical preference. It is a moral responsibility toward one's own people. It keeps the balance between military ambition and domestic stability.
Now, in order to kill the enemy, our men must be roused to anger. That there may be advantage from defeating the enemy, they must have their rewards.
Motivation is a force multiplier. Anger and resolve drive soldiers to close with the enemy, endure hardship, and seize fleeting opportunities. Rewards transform tactical success into lasting strategic advantage by encouraging initiative and boldness, ensuring troops remain committed after victory, and turning battlefield gains into sustainable capacity, equipment, prisoners, provisions. Links emotion and material incentive into a single engine of combat power.
Therefore, in chariot fighting, when 10 or more chariots have been taken, those should be rewarded who took the first. Our own flags should be substituted for those of the enemy, and the chariots mingled and used in conjunction with ours. The captured soldiers should be kindly treated and kept.
Sun Tzu's guidance balances ruthlessness and restraint. Seize opportunities, but do not brutalize captives or waste resources. This preserves moral authority and political legitimacy, vital for long-term stability. Treating prisoners well can also become propaganda leverage, encouraging enemy units to surrender rather than fight to the death. Sun Tzu's guidance balances ruthlessness and restraint. Seize opportunities, but do not brutalize captives or waste resources. This preserves moral authority and political legitimacy, vital for long-term stability. Treating prisoners well can also become propaganda leverage, encouraging enemy units to surrender rather than fight to the death.
This is called using the conquered foe to augment one's own strength.
This verse defines a sustainable model of conflict. Instead of a campaign that depletes your side through attrition, expense, and fatigue, Sun Tzu envisions a campaign that pays for itself. Captured food sustains the army. Captured equipment increases capability. Captured men become laborers or new troops. It's a system where war, intelligently managed, replenishes what it consumes. This stands in direct contrast to the kind of protracted, costly wars Sun Tzu condemned earlier in the chapter.
In war, then, let your great object be victory, not lengthy campaigns.
For rulers and commanders, this line is also a warning against vanity and ambition. Some leaders prolong wars for personal glory, pride, or fear of admitting mistakes. Sun Tzu condemns this as folly, and a true leader measures success not by the duration or spectacle of war, but by the speed and stability of peace restored afterward.